Welcome back to Jamie Talk Celtic, people. My aim is to give you as much Celtic content as possible every day, and hopefully you enjoy. But anyway, today's episode, I'm going to talk about what does Celtic need this summer, playing wise, position wise. Some of the players I'd like Celtic to go for, and let's see what happens. So, first and foremost, I think we have to concentrate on the players that we're going to lose because I do believe we're going to lose numerous amounts of players. I've been on record. I think that Benjamin Negrin will move on. I think that Arnie Engels will move on, and I think that Dyson Maida will move on. So there's going to be upwards of £50 million, in my opinion, for those three players. Um, that is just my opinion. Loads of people would disagree with that. I think that Nottingham Forest have already bid close to 30 million for Arnie Engels. So you're expecting that for him. Then you've got Benjamin Negrin. I'd expecting somewhere between 15 and £20 million for him. This is a Swedish international who's going to the World Cup. If he's a good World Cup, who knows? It could be even more than that. And then you've got Dyson Maida, who I'd be expecting to get about £10 million for. So there's 50 odd £1 million there. So I'm just hoping that if those players do leave, I'd like to keep a hold of at least one, which probably would be Arnie Engels. Um, but I do believe they'll all move on. So if those three players move on, it's a case of how do you replace them? Because Engels has been excellent since he's came back from injury. Benjamin Negrin, as we know, the amount of goals that guy scored in his first season is tremendous. And Daiz Maida, basically won Celtic League in the last few games of the season. So these are big, big players to replace and stuff. And then there's going to be fringe players that move on as well. Rio Atati, I believe, will be possibly looking to leave Celtic, especially if Martin O'Neill is the next manager, because it's came out now that Martin O'Neill and Rio Atati had a fallout. So you would expect Rio to move on. I've been a big critic of Rio Atati over the last few months. I think he's been really, really poor for a long time now, and he's no Celtic class anymore. But that's just my opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion. But I just feel that these guys are probably going to have to move on at some point. So that's four, players that have been excellent for Celtic over a long period of time. Like I say, apart from Hattati, who was good when he first came in. But we'll see what happens. I don't really know how you replace these guys, because guys like Luke McCowan and Paulo Bernardo don't seem to be in Martinelli's plans. I'm just assuming it is him because we won the cup on Saturday and he was asked the question, you stay on? And it was like, oh, I'm going to have a conversation next week with Dermot and stuff. So to me, he's no ruled it out. So if he's offered the job, I think he'll take it. But we've got to be looking all over the park. It's going to be a major rebuild for Celtic. I would imagine 6, 7, 8 players are going to have to come in, especially if we do lose. First and foremost, we've got to look at midfield. So if those three players move on, we have to get at least two centre midfielders in. Oxley Chamberlain will probably move on as well, unless he's offered another deal, which can't really see happening, to be honest, because he's not really played a big part since he's come in. But maybe Martin would like to keep on for a year, for the experience or whatever, to get us over the line in next year or whatever. But I don't know. I believe Iheanacho will probably offered a deal, but he's out of contract as well. So, and they've got all these loanee players moving on. So I mean, it really is, you know, a big rebuild for Celtic this summer. I didn't quite realise how big it is until I'm actually talking about this. But it is. While we look to improve in certain aspects as well, centre half position. Austin Trusty for me has been really good since he's come back into the team and stuff like that. But do we want an upgrade on him? Carter Vickers will come back. He looks as if he's getting to be fit now. Well, I think hopefully he'll go to the World Cup. But Alistair Johnson's been a big asset to Celtic since he's came back in. So it's just a lot to think about, because Kieran Tierney is going to be left back, but KT can't last 90 minutes most of the time, and he's another year older. So Sriracha, hopefully we can make a deal to make that happen. I don't know if the Uruguayan would want to come here and sit on the bench right enough. I think he's the sort of player that would want to stay on, be a first team starter. So I mean, it's going to be hard to convince him, I think, because he's good enough to start for teams. So why would you come to Celtic and sit on the bench most of the time? But it's the more I think about it, it's we've not really got. We've got Callum Osmond up front. We've got Ian Acho, who's going to potentially move on. You've got loads of loanees that are away. Svian Chara and Vuku, uh, Adamu. All these guys are all moving on. So I mean, basically all over the park, Celtic need options. It looks to me like Jota. Jota could be never returning. I did a video about that earlier on. He might not be returning for Celtic, which is a major, major blow. Do we need a new goalkeeper as well? Do we need I mean, this is absolutely a massive rebuild. Sinisalo's done okay since he's come in and that, but will the new manager, whoever that may be, feel Sinisalo is good enough to keep the gloves in between the sticks? Because he's still a relatively young man. To me, he's still got a bit to prove. Uh, but it's interesting times. Celtic will need to go out and spend some money. They're going to have to. Okay, they've gave Yang, Luke McCowan, Liam Scales, James Forrest new contracts. But I mean, most of these guys, McCowan and Forrest, are going to be bit part players. They're not going to be playing much, I wouldn't imagine, under the new manager, whoever it may be, whether it's Martin O'Neill or Robbie Keane or whoever it is, man. But Celtic have got a major rebuild on their hands, guys. I haven't really realised it until I'm talking about this. I mean, who do you think that we need in? It's interesting, man. It really is interesting. But I believe we need reinforcements all over the park. We've got players coming back from loanees. Lewis Palmer, he'll be getting sold on. I can't see a future for him. You've got Nerowski, who I believe is still at Celtic, even though he wasn't fancied by Brendan Rodgers whatsoever. Will Martin O'Neill fancy him? I'm just assuming it's Martin O'Neill. The rest of this video, I'm just going to say Martin O'Neill, even if it's no Martin O'Neill, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be. Because we've gave players new deals and stuff like that, which is incredible when you think about it. But I mean, Sean Maloney, I was reading earlier on that he might be in some sort of sport director kind of thing. I don't know, man. I really don't know how it's going to operate. But what I will say is I hope that Celtic, we get answers soon. I really hope that we get answers soon and it's not a big waiting game where we need to wait and wait and wait and wait on players. We need to wait on the manager coming in. We need to haggle. I know to say it every single year, but we actually cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford to do that. Rangers have just went out and bought Shankland, and that's a sign of intent for them. The guy's a proven goal scorer in Scotland, so we need to do our business as early as possible. We've got a Champions League qualifier in August. Let's not make the same mistake this year as we made last year. We have to do better. But anyway, that's my thoughts on stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Where does Celtic need to improve? I could see us buying some players in Scotland. I'd be happy we're going to get Masmanise. I'd be happy we're going to get Elijah Just. I would like to see Celtic go and try and get Braga. To be honest with you, he's a very, very good player. And there's players in Scotland, I believe, that are very decent. They're very decent. Could Celtic make a move for like Barney Stewart? I mean, you would be looking for better than him. He is a decent enough young player than that, but there's talk of him going to Hearts. I know he's a Hearts fan. He's got a Hearts family and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Could Celtic make a move for Callum Ward, the Motherwell goalkeeper? Who knows, man? Who knows? There's players there. Slattery has moved on from Motherwell. Just looking at Motherwell because they've had such an amazing season. There's players at Hearts. Could Celtic make a move for Kyrgios? For me, he went off the boil in the second half of the season, which really scuppered Hearts' chances. But if there's any other players you can think of in Scotland or anywhere else, please let me know in the comments because I would like to have a wee discussion with you about that. So, thanks for watching. Remember, hit that subscribe button, people.